Right, well I'm here talking to Paul Smith, who's the Chief Executive of the City and County of Swansea, about last week's Our Ambition 7 community planning event. Paul, you spoke to that conference last week, particularly about the current budget situation and the need to make savings and so on. Perhaps you could say a little bit about the main messages that you wanted to get across last week.
The conference came at a time when we're entering perhaps the most challenging period of budget reductions that I can recall in my 30 plus years in local government. So I needed to use the space of the conference to expand upon that, both with a range of people who are connected with the council and a wide range of our partners in the private sector, other parts of the public sector and the third sector. So the main messages were really to reinforce the challenges we're going through in developing budget options and to stimulate the rise to the challenge on behalf of the partnership for us to come through this together, seeking to best protect services, enhance them where we can and do more with less.
And what was the extent of the challenge that you were talking to the delegates about last week?
The dimensions are almost too difficult to understand, really. The figures that we talk about are the need for the council to save perhaps £60 million over the next 3 years at around £20 million per year out of a £360 million budget. So it's a huge proportion, and it's very clear, very evident that whilst we must continue to press for greater efficiencies in everything we do, that level of savings will not be achieved by efficiencies alone, and that's well recognised by politicians of all parties, nationally and locally. So we do face some very difficult, tough choices around what we stop and what we reduce. Hence that reinforces the need to work in partnership in a greater way, in a collaborative way, but in a realistic and pragmatic way, to seek to get more from a collectively smaller pot.
And how do you think people responded to that at the conference last week? Were there any sort of good practical ideas that came out of the event?
I think that my general perception of response would be that there was no great shocks in what I was saying, but perhaps the opportunity to have a conference to focus on what it means is always useful to us when we're so busy, when we're at our normal day-to-day desk. There was plenty of anxiety in the room, but by undertaking work in relatively small tabletop groups, we quickly moved into looking at the positives. You know, where can we actually achieve improvements? Where can we achieve greater efficiencies at this time? And a number of key ideas came forward. By way of example, 3 that spring straight back to mind are as follows. One was the wish to make a better collective use of the assets that the council and other parts of the public sector hold, so that we have a greater efficiency in use of buildings and other infrastructure. Secondly, there was a wish to combine training in a more efficient and effective way, so that different agencies who need to undertake training of their staff for the same reasons, because legislation or statutory instrument has changed, are doing it collectively, and that not only provides efficiencies in the cost of training, but provides additional networking opportunities for people working in the same field. And a third area was the wish for us to collaborate further with partners, whether that be within the public sector, through local government, or in other parts of the public sector, or across the region, to do things collectively that perhaps we all currently do by ourselves.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.